talks or at just different events. And it's always so warming, it's always so encouraging to hear different things that I had said on air that made a difference to them, or things that I had said that had gotten them through difficult times, because that was never my intention at the time. That was just my script that the producer had produced for me. But there was always an element in me to inspire, to empower, and to motivate as many females as I could. And to hear them come back and say, well, you helped me through, for example, my breakup or a very difficult time in my life when I lost somebody, and I still remember what you said, means so much to me. And I think that's what I will always hold very dear to my heart as a radio presenter.
You know, and those are values that you still have, because you're still inspiring, you're still motivating, you're still changing lives for good. I was lucky enough to have seen you on stage at Sabaya last year. You hosted the Women of Wonder Awards. You know, you looked fabulous, but you know, that's not out of the ordinary. You sounded brilliant. So still very much, you know, on stage, whether it is hosting or, you know, being program director or motivating others and empowering women. That's very much the path that you're on nowadays.
That's right.
And, you know, in terms of your entire story, where did it start for you? When you were, you know, in Pinetown Girls High, I believe, right? You went to an all-girls school?
Yes.
So, firstly, what was that like, being in an all-girls school?
Well, it's strange you asked me that, because I mentioned to somebody the other day, I was with my husband,
Yeah.
and we were at a function, and we were talking generally about high schools and things like that. And the gentleman that was sitting around with us said, I went to Queensborough Boys. And I happily chirped, I went to Pinetown Girls. And his response was, oh, shame. And I got that response a lot, because I think people think going to an all-girls school is so boring, it's so restrictive. I have a totally different story about an all-girls school. I loved it. I absolutely loved school. I still have very fond memories of school. And I think my passion for speaking started at school.
So if, you know, you've got two daughters, you and Anand, and if, you know, the girls decide one day, well, Mum, I want to go to a co-ed school, would you influence them to say, no, all girls for you?
Definitely.
Really?
With what's happening today,
Yeah.
we've had the conversation already. I think all girls is just a safer environment in terms of being comfortable with who you are, getting to know who you are first, exceeding the boundaries academically, and getting to know what you can and cannot do. And there's always time to socialize with boys. There's going to be lots of opportunities for that. But I think for my girls, all girls, it's going to be...
And I'm sure Anand's in studio, by the way, and he's smiling and nodding, so being a protective
well,
dad.
he'll say homeschool.
So, in terms of your entire journey, you know, what's your earliest memories? Where did you grow up, Abigail?
I grew up in Phoenix.
Right.
I went to Redfern Primary School, and I thereafter attended St. Anthony's Primary School.
In town?
In town.
Right.
Yes, so I had an early start to the CBD. God only knew I was going to come right back and live in the CBD. So I schooled at St. Anthony's until Standard 5, and then I went over to Pinetown Girls High School, which was very different for me. And I think a lot of our students, or our generation, the generation now, doesn't understand the difference between moving from co-ed to an all-girls school, and then moving from a predominantly Indian environment to one that encouraged a mixed denomination. And that's what it was for me. But it was very, very challenging, because everything was different. The culture in the school was different. There was a lot of emphasis on sport and not so much at St. Anthony's. So we had to now just get strong and get out there. There were 3 Indian girls at Pinetown Girls High School when I started in grade 8.
Did you tend to cling together, or you were, you know, was it quite easy for you then, you know, to mix with girls of other races?
Not at all. The 3 of us clung together. We're still very, very close. But by grade 9, which is standard 7, after a year of being at the school, you do mix with the other girls, and you understand that it's okay to be different. And it's also good to share your experiences with other girls, other nationalities, and it became one of our empowering stories. We're still very close to many of the girls that we schooled with today.
You know, so when you were in school and if someone had to ask you, you know, when you're a big girl, you know, what would you want to be? What was the answer that Abigail would have given?
Well, I would always say I wanted to be on radio. I would always say that, but I didn't quite know how I was going to do that, because here's the irony of my story. I was a very shy young girl.
I don't believe
Very
that.
shy. Many don't. My report card, and I have them, my mom actually brought some home today. Every comment says she's very reserved, and that's just a nice way of saying she's shy. She doesn't speak in class. Right. And I didn't speak a lot in class, because I actually didn't feel as if what I had to say would make a difference. And I think many young girls go through that today, where they feel, well, what am I going to say that's going to make a difference? But when I got to high school, there were 2 or 3 teachers that would give us orals to do every now and again, well, in fact, every week. And then we started debating and forum discussion and all the other extramurals that encourage speaking ability. And I loved them. I took to them like a fish to water, which surprised even me. I liked having the ability to regurgitate a speech. And I knew then that I have something in me that will allow me to speak to masses one day. I just knew it. I knew it inside of me. And my teachers encouraged me throughout. So by the time I got to grade 12, which was matric, I had received full colours for speaking.
So